Welcome to the 10 Minutes Gold Mine, where every book gives you a treasure of knowledge in just 10 minutes. Critique of Pure Reason by Immanuel Kant. Introduction. Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, first published in 1781, is widely regarded as one of the most important works in philosophy. In this groundbreaking text, Kant addresses a central issue that has puzzled philosophers for centuries: the nature of human knowledge and how we come to understand the world around us. Kant's central question is whether we can ever know things as they truly are, or if our knowledge is limited by the way our minds interpret the world. The book tackles complex questions about perception, space, time, and the limitations of human cognition, challenging both the rationalist and empiricist traditions of his time. Part 1. The Problem of Knowledge. Kant begins by questioning the very foundation of knowledge. The rationalists, like Descartes, believed that knowledge comes from reason and innate ideas, while empiricists such as Locke and Hume argued that knowledge is derived entirely from sensory experience. Kant, however, proposes a third alternative. He argues that knowledge does not come solely from reason or experience but from the interaction between the mind and the external world. In Kant's view, the mind is not a passive receiver of information. Rather, it plays an active role in shaping the way we perceive and understand the world. Kant divides knowledge into two categories: a priori and a posteriori. A priori knowledge is independent of experience. It is knowledge that we can know without ever having any sensory experience of it. For instance, all bachelors are unmarried is a statement that we know a priori. On the other hand, a posteriori knowledge comes from experience, like knowing that the sky is blue because we've observed it. According to Kant, a priori knowledge forms the framework through which we interpret a posteriori knowledge. Without the basic concepts that we are born with, we wouldn't be able to make sense of the sensory data that we receive. Part 2. The Role of Space and Time. One of Kant's most revolutionary ideas is that space and time are not external, objective features of the world, as many philosophers had assumed. Instead, Kant argues that space and time are the ways in which our mind organizes sensory experience. This idea, known as transcendental idealism, asserts that space and time are not properties of things in themselves, but rather forms of intuition that allow us to perceive the world. In simpler terms, space and time are not things that exist out there, in the world. Rather, they are structures built into our minds that organize and shape our experience. Without space and time, Kant argues, we would have no way of perceiving the world. They are not derived from experience but are the very conditions that make experience possible. This notion of space and time as subjective forms of perception challenges the traditional view, which saw them as objective features of the universe. For Kant, the way we experience space and time is inherently tied to the way our minds are structured. This means that, while we may never experience the world as it truly is, the noumenon, we can experience it as it appears to us, the phenomenon. Part 3. Categories of the Mind. In addition to space and time, Kant introduces the idea of categories. These are basic concepts or categories that the mind uses to structure and interpret sensory data. For example, the category of causality helps us understand the relationship between events in terms of cause and effect. Without this category, we would have no way of understanding how events are related or how the world works. Other categories include unity, substance, and existence, all of which allow us to interpret our experiences. These categories, like space and time, are a priori. They are built into the structure of the mind and do not come from experience. Kant argues that we cannot experience the world without these categories, because they are the lens through which we interpret all sensory data. The concept of categories is a central part of Kant's philosophy. It suggests that our minds actively organize and interpret the raw data that comes from the external world. In other words, Our perception of the world is not a passive process but an active one, shaped by the categories that our minds impose on the sensory information we receive. Part 4. The limits of knowledge. Perhaps the most important idea in Kant's critique of pure reason is his claim that there are limits to what we can know. According to Kant, we can never know things as they truly are in themselves. Instead, we only know things as they appear to us, through the lens of our perception, space, time, and categories. This distinction between the phenomenon, the world as we perceive it, and the noumenon, the world as it truly is, independent of our perception, is fundamental to Kant's philosophy. The key idea here is that human cognition is inherently limited. We cannot experience the noumenon directly because our minds are only capable of experiencing phenomena. While we can know the world as it appears to us, we cannot know the true essence of things, as that lies beyond the limits of our perception and understanding. This concept of the noumenon has profound implications for metaphysics and epistemology, as it suggests that there are aspects of reality that are forever beyond our grasp. Kant's recognition of the limits of human knowledge is a humbling and important insight. It encourages a sense of intellectual modesty, acknowledging that while we can know a great deal, there are fundamental aspects of reality that are unknowable. Part 5. The practical implications of Kant's philosophy. Kant's philosophy is not just an abstract exercise, it has practical implications for how we live and think. His ideas about the limits of human knowledge and the way our minds shape experience have influenced a wide range of disciplines, from ethics to science to psychology. In ethics, Kant's ideas are foundational. His famous, categorical imperative, asserts that moral principles must be universal and not based on subjective experiences or emotions. The categorical imperative is a moral law that requires us to act according to principles that could be universally willed to become laws. For Kant, morality is grounded in reason, not in feelings or contingent circumstances. This has influenced modern ethical thought, especially in discussions about human rights and universal moral principles. Kant's epistemology has also influenced the way we think about science and human understanding. His idea that our knowledge is shaped by the mind and that there are limits to what we can know has prompted scientists and philosophers to think more critically about the nature of scientific inquiry and the boundaries of human cognition. Kant's work paved the way for later developments in philosophy, especially in fields like phenomenology, existentialism, and analytic philosophy. Part 6. The impact of critique of pure reason. Kant's critique of pure reason was a revolutionary work that transformed the landscape of philosophy. It synthesized and transcended the divisions between rationalism and empiricism, offering a new way of understanding the relationship between the mind and the world. Kant's influence on subsequent philosophers is immense, and his ideas continue to shape modern philosophical debates in a wide range of fields, including metaphysics, epistemology, ethics, and political philosophy. Kant's critique of human perception and his distinction between the phenomenon and the noumenon continue to challenge our understanding of reality. His work also paved the way for later philosophers like Hegel, Schopenhauer, and Nietzsche, who further developed and critiqued Kant's ideas. Kant's ideas on ethics, science, and knowledge have also had a lasting impact on the development of contemporary philosophy and science. Conclusion. Immanuel Kant's critique of pure reason is a dense and difficult text, but it remains one of the most important works in the history of philosophy. Kant's exploration of the nature of human knowledge, the structure of perception, and the limits of cognition has had a profound impact on modern thought. His work challenged the traditional views of rationalism and empiricism and provided a new framework for understanding the relationship between the mind and the world. Kant's ideas continue to shape philosophical debates to this day, and his influence can be seen in a wide range of disciplines. His insistence on the limits of human knowledge and his emphasis on the active role of the mind in shaping experience remain important concepts in contemporary philosophy. As you reflect on Kant's ideas, consider the following questions. Do you believe that our minds actively shape the way we perceive the world? Is it possible to know things beyond our direct sensory experience? How does Kant's distinction between the phenomenon and the noumenon affect your understanding of reality? Share your thoughts in the comments section. That's it for today's 10 Minutes Gold Mine. If you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep mining for more golden knowledge. See you in the next one.